What is up, book babes? I'm here to give you some cozy, wonderful fall recs. Some of these will have a little bit more horror, some of these will have more romance, some of these will be cozy, but I'm gonna recommend all of these books based off the pure vibes and the atmosphere. Now, I would say fall is probably the best time to read because we all can just get cozy with our favorite drink, which I adore so much, and deep dive into these worlds and just escape into the most atmospheric, beautiful books ever. By the way, feel free to count how many times I say atmospheric in this video. But just like I love getting book recommendations for this season, I'm so excited to give you some of my fall recommendations as well. So settle in, get cozy, and get ready to make your TBR even bigger. The first book I want to recommend is House of Salt and Sorrows. This is the perfect book if you want to be spooked a little bit and you're getting ready for that spooky season that's coming up. It has romance, it has mystery, it's set on a town by the seashore. It is definitely so atmospheric, pulled me in, and a perfect read for nighttime when you're just in bed with a hot cocoa, your favorite fall drink. I did read that some people get more scared in this book, so if you tend to be a little bit of a scaredy cat and you don't really like really creepy books, I would say stay away from this. I think I have a pretty high tolerance for creepiness and I was perfectly okay. It was really the mystery and the adventure that kept me going, so I definitely recommend this book if that is your type of jam. The good thing is the sequel also just released. It's called House of Root and Ruin, and I cannot wait. The library lent me my copy, so I'm gonna dive into this as soon as possible and get all the spooky, creepy vibes. Now, if you're more of a dark academia type of gal and you like some fantasy with some action and unraveling of events, I would recommend The Raven Boys. I adore this series. It is one of my top series of all time. The way Maggie Stiefvater writes her characters are so three-dimensional. If you're into psychics, ghosts, like I said, dark academia, this is gonna be the book for you. It has more of an urban fantasy setting, so it's not super high fantasy, but it does have lore. It has Welsh mythology in there, and every single ending of this series has a mega cliffhanger and you're just going to want to keep reading. Since the book takes place in Virginia and it actually starts in the fall, it is seriously the perfect atmosphere and perfect setting for this fall season. This next book is actually part of my 12 Recs challenge, and I will argue that I would have liked this even more if I had read it during winter/fall, and it's called A Far Wilder Magic. I kid you not, if you packed fall into a town, this would be it. Well, probably this and Stars Hollow. This book takes place in a town that feels like it's just permanently fall/winter. It is super atmospheric, more dense, and a little bit slower. It does have opposites attract and a little bit of enemies to lovers, first time love, and it also centers around hunting and magic. It also has elements of religion in there and feeling outcasted, but not any religions from real life. You can tell they are based from real life religions, but it's not outright in what it's actually practicing, and the names are not any direct religions that we see in our real life. Again, I would say this book is just so atmospheric and definitely super, super fall. Now for my cozy fantasy lovers, I have to recommend Legends and Lattes. Legends and Lattes is a type of book you need to read while having a freshly baked cinnamon roll in front of you and a great cup of coffee, because oh my gosh, as I was reading this book, all I wanted was to run to a bakery and have such delicious baked goods and like stuff my face with them. As you're reading the book, it almost feels like you can smell the cafe and you can smell the baked goods that are coming out in this book. It is so yummy. This book is so yummy. It is so cozy. There's hardly any action plot like you normally see in fantasy. It is pure friendship, pure softness, and just a really great book if you want to break from typical high fantasy or very violent and action-packed storylines. This book is so popular that a prequel was actually requested, and it is coming out in November. It's called Bookshops and Bone Dust. Now, if you don't know, the readathon I'm hosting has a bingo card, and within that bingo card we have cozy fantasy bingo spot. So this book would be perfect and definitely qualifies for that bingo slot. Now, if you're more into a classic retelling, like a Jekyll and Hyde retelling, I highly recommend My Dear Henry. I would say that out of all of the books I'm recommending today, this is the most atmospheric book. It takes place place in the 1800s in London, and the way the author writes is stunning. I could feel myself walking in these cobblestone paths, the rain, the smell of the fog in the morning. It was so beautiful. It definitely got me in this cozy winter mood, but there is mystery in there. There is a little horror in there because this is, after all, a Jekyll and Hyde retelling, a reimagined version of that story. It does feature a couple and it is LGBTQ. So if this type of atmospheric retelling sounds like it would be your cup of tea, I highly recommend getting your cup of tea and diving into this book. If some of these books have sounded like your vibe, make sure you hit that like button or comment the title down below. It means a whole lot and lets me know you're enjoying this content. We cannot move on without talking about a gothic romance called Belladonna. And the reason I'm bringing it up again in this video is because the sequel Foxglove has now released. And on my bingo card, I also placed a fall release book, and Foxglove would totally qualify for that spot. Belladonna is a romantasy, historical fantasy, gothic romance book all wrapped in one. It actually features a love interest that is death itself. If you love more mystery, more eeriness, and some supernatural para-romance twist, this would definitely be the book for you. I haven't seen a love triangle in so long, and this was done so well. I was squealing and had no idea who to root for. It does end on a cliffhanger, but like I mentioned, the sequel Foxglove is fortunately released, so you can quickly dive in and not have to wait like I had to for like a year for this to come out. It is so lush and definitely so gothic and dark. I loved it so much, and I was actually so surprised by how much I enjoyed this book. Now for my scariest recommendation yet. This book even freaked me out and gave me the creeps as I was reading it. It's officially a YA horror and it's called Horrid. If you like a Haunting of Hill House type of vibe, but not as complex as that TV show slash book, I would say this is for you. It definitely reads more of a fall mystery, kind of like a cozy mystery, but definitely more horror-esque. It is very psychological thriller. It has a single mom and daughter with an actual good relationship. And when this book was pitched to me, it was actually pitched as a Gilmore Girls, but make it horror, because the two characters really portray a Lorelai and Rory dynamic. The setting of this book is small town vibes with a creepy haunted house. Or is it? You are left with so many questions here. It is a standalone book, so don't worry, it's not a series. So if you're looking for a more horror fall read, this is the book for you. Now, if you enjoy more fantasy books, I have to recommend Six of Crows. It is also a favorite book of mine. This book has a heist, multiple point of views, outcasted characters from very damaged and diverse backgrounds. It has adventure, action, healing, just so much going on in here, and of course a ton of magic. If you're also looking for a book that has very strong female characters but also has romance in there, this is the book for you. One of my favorite things about Six of Crows is all the plot twists and turns and the scheming in here, especially by one of my most ultimate favorite characters, Kaz Brecker. I absolutely love that freaking character so much. He is the anti-villain in this story. So if you also like morally great characters, if you also like the plot really making sense at the end of the book and all the dots connecting along the way, this is gonna be for you. I would say it's so freaking fall because the city it takes place in, a fictional city at that, is called Ketterdam. And that city is crowded but chilly and cool. There are scenes that are in the graveyard or on a lake, and you can feel the crisp, cold air in this book, I swear. It just reads all fall for me. It's such a dark fantasy type of book. I love it so much, but it will also make you laugh with all the banter in there. Featuring another book from my 12 Recs challenge, I have to recommend Every Heart a Doorway. This is actually a novella, so if you want something shorter or a break in between your bigger books and bigger reads, this is that book for you. This book is going to feature basically a bunch of outcasts together in this academy. You would think it means it's a little bit more dark academia, but it is not. If you want a little murder mystery with a paranormal supernatural twist, I would say this is the book for you. It does feature a bunch of kids that are trying to find their place in life. So if that's a theme you would like to explore as well, I think this is really going to tug on your heartstrings. It has such a cast of oddball characters that are so kind-hearted, and it just really softened me up so much, and it was definitely a really beautiful read and what I needed as a break in between my bigger reads. Lastly, because I think this is so fall-like, I want to recommend a tournament trope book, and that is All of Us Villains. I adore this book. I wish I read it more during fall because it has so much action, so much angst. So if you like characters that are, again, morally gray, not what they seem, and has a lot of internal conflict, this is for you. It is also told from multiple perspectives, which I personally really love. Multi-points of views in books and chapters. Not to mention, I live for a tournament trope. This is definitely going to be a type of book where you can settle down all cozy in your reading chair and just dive and binge this incredible story. And if you love a book that makes you root for the villain at the end of the story, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised in this book. I hope I recommended a book that definitely feels very you and gives you the atmosphere you're looking for this fall. If you have a book recommendation for me as well, make sure you leave it down below. I would love more fall atmospheric vibes. And if you did enjoy hanging out with me today, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!